Hello and welcome back to Redefine Parenting. I'm your host, Veenu Keller. I want to welcome you to Spanglish World Network and Her Network on Zingo TV's channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on all respective app stores and iOS devices and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire Sticks, Roku Sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Tonight, I have a very special guest. We have been waiting for this moment to bring us together to really talk about some books that she has written. Without further ado, Serena Brown Travis, welcome to Redefine Parenting. I'm so excited to have you here and really just dive into a discussion of, your journey into where you're at, what inspired you to write these beautiful books, and really how they're connecting, parents together with their kids. So welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And more importantly, thank you for what you do. This is an important topic. And yeah, so super excited to be here. So thank you for the introduction. My name again is Serena Brown Travis, and I happen to be the daughter of a motivational speaker. Throughout my life, my father, his name happens to be Les Brown. He has made it a point to inspire adults and all kind of organizations, be it network marketing or corporations. But one of the things that I found was missing was inspiration for youth. And so I noticed that a lot of times we were working with adults, we were coaching, we were training, and it was always something that happened in their younger years that was pivotal for their adult year. So a lot of times it could be something positive, but I often found it was something negative. Even for my father, who again, motivational speaker, people called him DT, the dumb twin. He answered to it. There were other people along the way who always criticized him for his lack of education, but he had one teacher in high school that said to him, never let someone's opinion of you become your reality. And I said to him one time, I said, Dad, how come we don't have a lot of things out there for kids? I said, you do a great job with adults, but where's the stuff for kids? And he said, you know what, baby, create it. And so that's how we got to this point now. So anyways, my first book, it's called Perfect Penny, and it's just about positive words only. My father says, no one rises to low expectations. And one of the things that I found with that is that sometimes us children, as we were children, we did not hear a lot of positive words growing up. A lot of folks complained to us and, told us what we weren't doing right. And so I often wonder, how would children be if they heard positive words all of the time? And how would that redefine their life and their outlook on their everyday being? So that's what I did. So I dove into that, and here we are today.
I love it. And, that is such a great question, because we say that our kids are a product of what they see and what they hear. Mm-hmm. And so if they're constantly hearing that they're not doing good enough, or they could have done better, or what's wrong with you, or that was dumb, or whatever, that's what they start to, create as their identity.
Absolutely.
But there's always something better. There's always something better. So that gives that presupposition that they're not good enough now.
Absolutely. And I think that we adults, now, of course, as adults, we know we have our motivational sayings, never be fully satisfied, always look for the next opportunity. And that's great when you're an adult. But when you're a child, every now and again, you just need a, hey, bud, high five. You did a great job, and there's nothing about you or what you did that I would change. This is amazing. And it's not allowing a child to just settle on, their success, or settle on the little small victories. But my goodness, we have to be very intentional about letting a child know, I am proud of you. You did an excellent job, and I look forward to you doing this again. You can do it again, without there being all this goal setting. When a kid is like 3, 4, or 5 years old, it becomes very confusing. And I think that yes, we have aspirations and we have standards and so on and so forth for our children, but we also have to let our children let us know who they are. And I think as parents, we forget, we want to maybe sometime have a carbon copy of ourselves. And that's not how God has blessed us with these children, that we are to help them cultivate their gift and then give them back to the world so they can make an impact and make a difference right where they are.
Absolutely. And I think also, besides trying to make another mini me, I think some of us parents try to see, like, what could I have done differently growing up? So I'm going to install that in my kids. And I know I'm guilty of that. It's like I see my daughter doing some of the behaviors that I had, talking a lot, asking questions she already knows the answer to. And I remember it was a time that I felt I needed to be seen and heard. So I'm like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. And so in actuality, I was taking away from who she is instead of creating a better discussion, because obviously she wants to talk. Obviously she wants that dialogue, but instead of stopping her and telling her this is not the time, you're asking questions you already know, it's giving her an opportunity to say, what do you really want right now? Do you really want to talk? Let's engage in a conversation that's going to, be fruitful for both of us instead of this. So it's engaging and teaching her a better way to get the attention instead of doing what I got, like, stop talking, you talk too much, which really became something that I resisted, which obviously persists then, right? What you resist persists.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I think it's a great topic that you bring up, is like, we need to do better for our kids. And that's why this program is called Redefine Parenting. It's that, I will tell you, I have my older kids and God gave me a redo with my twins. And now I want to do better. In order to do better, I have to learn better. And so it's people like you that are writing these books to really teach us that there's a different way to do it. Not even better, just different.
I agree. And, one of the things, as you were talking about your daughter who, may talk a lot, a lot of times our culture tells us, oh, you don't want to be a bossy girl.
Right.
And, and you don't, and for guys, for a young man, we want to see that leadership skill from him. And so there are things that we have done in our society. For instance, when I think of the Girl Scouts, I grew up a Girl Scout. The Girl Scout slogan was, on my honor, I will try. Well, wait a minute, what is try? And then you compare that with the Boy Scout, which is, on my honor, I will do. And it's like, wait a minute, how come the girls are trying and the boys are doing? So with that being said, even with communication styles, my oldest daughter talked a lot. So I'm with you there. You have the, let's play the I Spy. And then after a while, it's like, let's play the quiet game. What does that mean? Put a bubble in your mouth, But also with that is I had to also acknowledge how brilliant my daughter's mind was working and thinking, and the observations she was making along the way on the way home. And so therefore, I had to embrace who she was. Now, my youngest daughter, she's not going to talk that much. I mean, she's just kind of laid back, real chill. But if you ask her a question, she'll gladly answer it. And so I love how you said, hey, the Lord gave me a redo. Let's try to get this thing right. And with that being said, we have to make sure that we're cultivating the gifts our children come with. If your children talk a lot, great. Just give them something to, stimulate their minds so they're talking about other things and making valid observations. Perhaps they're learning how to encourage other people and to, stand up towards the bully, and make them an activist. Oh, she's bossy. No, honey, she's an activist. She's changing the temperature of the room, and she's making it better for her classmates who may have otherwise been overlooked. So I think that is a beautiful strategy. But let's be honest, as parents, sometimes we love to have quiet time.
Oh yeah.
And that seems to be impossible with the young people that we have. But now that my children are older, I certainly miss their voices. So thank goodness that we had, these video cameras that can go back, video phones that can go back, and you can hear the little chatter and how they were running through the house and mommy, all of those things. Because when people say it goes fast, it really, really, really
in
does.
a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love that your dad says is that there's greatness in all of us.
Yes.
He really starts off a lot of his talks that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's greatness in all of us. And, and you talk about being tied to greatness. I think one of the key points that you just brought up is that, and I help parents that I coach. It's when you see your child being an advocate for themselves or having those behaviors because they want control or they want to have in charge of what their own decisions are. cultivate that in a way of leadership. How could we give them leadership in their own right at their age that's appropriate for them, so they don't have to keep taking it? And it's really realizing that instead of pushing those down, saying, you know what, don't talk back to me. No, you're not going to do that. No, you're not going to be in charge of that. What could they be in charge of? What could you give them as a leadership role so they can learn that, hey, I'm actually in control of my life, my decisions, and I have the guidance of my parents to help me along with it?
Yeah, I think that is a great question. And as you mentioned, yes, my father always says you have greatness in you. Number one, because a lot of people do not realize that. And that's very interesting to me. I mean, some people have not heard, hey, you're beautiful. Hey, you've got more in you than you can ever begin to imagine. They've not heard those things. And so when you say as a young, as a kid, you have greatness in you, you have something special in you, young man, young lady, there's something different about you. I think that some of the things that we can do as parents is, again, to look at what the gifts of our children are. Now, again, if you have a quiet kid, it's okay. You don't have to, discipline them for being quiet. However, I would say make sure, as you said, they know how to stand up for themselves. They know that, hey, there is a silent power, in me. Everyone doesn't have to be seen, but there are silent folks and silent things that happen behind the scenes. That I had a friend in school that she was always quiet, but whenever someone needed a Band-Aid or a tissue, she was always right there. It was the cutest thing. And, looking back, and to this day, she's a nurse. And it's like, of course you would be a nurse, because you sat back and you always watched. And when you saw someone in need, you were silently right there. So I think that we have to let children strive where they are. I just had a conversation with a friend the other day that her grandson came over to her house and terrorized it. So she's like, oh no, I can't. I can't do this anymore. We're going to have to get a hotel next time he comes over. And I said, no. You give him authority over his space. So give him an area and say, this is your area. Whatever you do in this area, be it right on the wall and, throw balls against the wall, make it a mess. You do that. Now, of course, we know at the end of the day, you have to clean it back up. And then when you step outside of this area, then this is mommy's area. This is Grammy's area. And this is the area that you have to behave differently in. I did the same thing with one of my little cousins. And it translated very well when we went to school, because I said, hey, buddy, now that we're at school, this is where you put on your thinking cap and you learn. So no more wrestling, no more, playing with the cars or what have you. So I think at a younger age, we have to give children things that are theirs and say, this is yours, and take good care of it. This is how you get to act over here. And then the moment you cross over this threshold, this is the expectation, for you in the house. But there are times we have to let kids be kids.
Absolutely. And I think that, growing up in a generation, it's so funny, because I was like talking to one of my clients today who's 14, and it's like, a client told me a couple of years ago, he said, I know that my mom thinks she knows it all, but my mom doesn't know half what I know. And I said, tell me more. And he says, my mom doesn't know technology. My mom doesn't know Snapchat. My mom doesn't know how to do whatever on the phone. And I'm like, you're right. You do know more, because even like your generation, right? Like we were born in a generation where we weren't born into technology. Like we couldn't even fathom technology. Like, what computer, this big box that, has like, we're going to be able to talk to the world on this big box that you have to put a floppy disk in, like what? And now, what is life without technology? And they're right, because they were born into it. They didn't have to learn it. They're learning in it because they're growing in it. And so we're at a crossroads with our kids. Like, they actually know more than us right now. I can give my granddaughter, who's almost 6, an iPad and be like, let Mimi show you. She goes, Mimi, I already know. And she's already got it all programmed. She knows where to go. She knows what she's not allowed to touch. And I'm like, and she's quicker than I am. And she's 5.
I think it's hilarious, because the truth of the matter is, if we're honest, our children and grandchildren are our tech support. Yes. If I can't figure it out, I'm like, hey, girls, come down here. Something's happening. And within seconds, if not minutes,
right,
they figure it out. And so I think that we have to honor the things that children do bring to the table. I mean, you bring up a valid point. I was talking to my kids about when we were younger, we used to have to leave with, at least 3 or 4 quarters so that we can have have money for a payphone. And they were like, ew, you put your phone, you put your head to a phone and put a quarter. And I'm like, yeah. And we had several quarters because, God forbid the payphone take our quarter away. And, we still had to call home. We had pagers. They have no idea what those things are. So nonetheless, I think that we also have to honor the brilliance of our children.
Yes.
Your client is right. There are things that mommy and daddy do not know that you all know and can solve instantly. I mean, there are times I'm pulling out a manual and my kids are like, mommy, like,
Google
it. Unless you want to do this, let me help you. And I think that we have to I'm going to say it so often, honor the gifts and the brilliance that our children have. I mean, my one daughter, my oldest daughter, found a liking in doing people's eyelashes. And I'm thinking, eyelashes? What are you doing? Like, we have eyelash. Oh, no, ma'am, mommy. It's a style. And mind you, she's making great money in college doing folks' eyelashes. So,
I love it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, you did mention tied to greatness. So when you think about there's greatness in you, when you think about all the gifts and talents that our children bring to the table, yes, you're correct. I wrote a book called Tied to Greatness because our children typically, especially sometimes urban children or children with parents that are not forward thinking, maybe who have been neglected at times, and it happens, you don't intend it, but it happens. They forget, they have not been told what their gifts and values are. So they turn on the TV, they turn on social media, and all they see are football players, basketball players. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, sports has been very helpful in helping children how to count and, teamwork and leadership and so on and so forth. But there's so much more, as we know, so much more to life than just what you see. And so I created this book, Tied to Greatness. Here it is right here. Created it so that children can have a larger vision of themselves. So yes, we let kids have fun. We let kids play. We tell the kids, the world is yours, go for it, have goals and so on and so forth. But are we exposing our kids to as much as we possibly can? And so with that being said, especially for urban children who do not have the opportunity sometimes to have the resources to go to the local museum or, even to go out of town for that matter, to have a children's book that exposes them to things that they would not otherwise see. Someone's not telling the Little League team, oh, hey, by the way, I see a doctor out on the field. No, they're trying to be quarterbacks and, So therefore to help children see beyond, where they are, beyond their talents. My youngest daughter, H.E.R, has a kid at his school that on the top of his paper, he writes his name, doctor, and then puts his name behind it. And I said, hey, this kid is brilliant. Like, I cannot wait to see. Yeah, I cannot wait to see where he is in 8 years. And I'm sure we will refer to him as doctor.
Absolutely. Like he's already claiming his identity. And, you've hit on a couple points. And one of them I wanted to tie back to what we were talking about how our kids know more than us now. And to the point of, as parents, we are trying to separate them from what's going on because we feel we need to keep them safe because we were safe back then. And we cannot do that. And it goes back to what you were saying, like, what are we holding back the resources that they need to be exposed to? And instead of saying, hey, you can't do that, let's teach them how to do it correctly. Let's give them the values they need in this moment to do it correctly. And let's tell them this is the danger out here. This is why I personally wish you would not be into that. But since you are, let's talk about the safety of it. Help me feel safe so I can help you have the freedom you want by using this or going here or doing that. Instead of saying, no, it's not okay. It's ruining your brain. Like families ask me all the time, how much screen time should we allow our kids? How much screen time do you want to allow your kids? Because I'm going to tell you, that's the one thing that the kids had during COVID. When the world was locked down, none of us, we as parents were scared. We're like, what is going on? Because we never saw it in our generation. So we had to come into a uncertainty of an environment of like, what's life going to look like? Am I going to be able to put food on the table? Am I going to keep a roof over my head? Can we even go outside? Are we going to get it by breathing the air? Like there were so many variables going on. And then we had to be strong for our kids. And our kids say, okay, now I have no friends. I have no socialization. I don't know how to connect with people. So we had screens. Zoom blew up. Google Meets blew up. Like we were able to give our kids connection, and they learned how to do video games together so we could play together. And that's the connection. And now parents are like, okay, the world's opened up. You can't do it anymore. And the kids are like, wait a second. This is the only way I know how to communicate. And I do believe that we can limit it and teach our kids to reconnect with the world outside, but don't take away the one thing that they have that gives them the safety they need, because that's when they start to sneak. That's when they start to do things on their own because they don't trust you and they need to feel safe.
Yeah, you bring up a very interesting point. When we were kids, we stayed outside and played all day.
All night during the summer. In the summer, all night.
Yeah. So, I had to come back home and just check in to say, hey, Grandma, I'm doing fine. Hey, Mom, I'm doing good. But, we played outside all day to the point, as you know, we would drink water out of water hoses. We did not want to come home under any circumstances because we were having that much fun. Now, of course, you don't want your kids on social media all day. Right. However, as you said, for us, this whole screen and computer stuff, this is like Flintstone, like the Jetsons. Yes, like, wait a minute, this is actually happening. But I think that, as you said, there's a safe way without criticizing the children when they engage in social media. We don't understand what it's like to have a conversation with someone and then turn around and immediately post it on Facebook. Right. Because we had a phone conversation, and but for our children, it's, my daughter walks through the store and she's doing dances, and it's like, what are you doing? Sit still, what's wrong with you? And then come on, Mommy, let's do a dance. Yeah. And here we are doing TikTok. And at first I'm like, girl, I'm in public. We cannot behave like this in public. But I realized for her, that was her quality time with me. That was her way of opening up, saying, hey, my mom's got some groovy moves too. And so who am I to shut that down and to take that opportunity away from her? The same way that we would say, hey, Mom, Dad, come outside and play ball. Right. Let's bounce the ball. Let's play jacks, whatever that is. So I think that we have to embrace, technology and social media in such a way, as you said, that it is safe. So no, it's not okay to take pictures and then, especially inappropriate pictures, and put them online. Yes, your body's beautiful, but come here, baby. Let's talk about respect. We don't have to show everything, but I get it. And so even for my children, their bodies are beautiful. And I have to say, hey, so you look amazing, but we unfortunately live in a world that for some, this is beautiful. And then for others, they're looking at you in such a way that is a problem for us. And so
it makes you unsafe at that point. Like, we don't want you to be unsafe. We want you to enjoy your body. We want you to love your body. And we also want you to be safe about your body. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, is teaching our kids that, look, if we lay it out on the line, like, this is what we're afraid of, this is it. And sex trafficking is huge. It's the number one moneymaker thing in the world right now. And, no parents want to wake up to see that their kids are gone and you're never going to get them. And that's the reality we live in. You and I did not live in that reality back then. We didn't have the internet that plays a big part of it, right? We didn't have any of that. And as much as things are good in life, too much of anything is not great in life. And so it's teaching them in moderation. It's teaching them about reality. It's teaching them, how do you keep yourself safe? And what does it mean? And what does it look like to feel safe? And if you can take ownership of that, I will sleep at night and I can give you a lot more freedom.
Yeah. And I don't know if our children actually understand and value safety more than they understand and value our plea to them that you're very important. You're very special. You have greatness in you, and therefore you cannot be everywhere. You can't do everything that everyone else is doing. And so with that being said, I just need you to learn when to separate yourself and when to say, I should probably go, or let me log off, or I don't know who this new person is in the group chat, let me eliminate, this particular
Yeah.
conversation,
Right.
because you do raise a good point. It's not just, creepy men or creepy women. We have children, teenagers, unfortunately, that are engaging in, behaviors that is manipulating the minds of young people, and, between sex trafficking or any other foul behavior. I mean, we have a case right here now in Columbus, Ohio, where unfortunately a young man is dead. He was killed by two teenagers, but their parents helped them. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
What?
There used to be safety when you say, oh, so and so's parent is there. And you go, oh, okay, that's fine. No, no, no. Nowadays, you have parents who are also engaging in behaviors with their children that's less than what we grew up with. I mean, if you said a curse word and someone's parent is around, someone said, Miss Smith
Oh,
is over there. Like, don't do that. We were serious about respecting our elders, but that was because they created a safety net for us. They created a level of respect. And so therefore, it was cool. It was easy. It was a community. It was a village. And so nowadays, even as we're articulating to our children, I had to tell my girls, every mommy is not like mommy. Every mommy is not like mommy's friend. So unless I meet them and get a good gauge for this adult, they are a stranger. You can be respectful, but we've got to use caution. And so nonetheless, it is a trying world for our children, but I do still believe that that we won't live in the spirit of fear, that we will still,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that we're still shooting for things above, and looking to be a light, in the
Yes.
dying world, a light to parents, a light to teenagers, and even young people who have, unfortunately, some of them are struggling, as you know, with depression and low
Anxiety, big
self-esteem
time.
at such a young age. I mean, so I think that as much as we have so many challenges, we still have so many possibilities and opportunities to make a positive change in the world around us.
Amen. And I will say this to your point. I think now also when the world is changing and it's a different generation by all means now is that what I'm seeing that a lot of parents want their kids to like them. And so they are trying to be their friend versus being their parent. And here's where the kids get confused. The minute the parent has to be a parent and be like, no, you're not. No, that the line in the sand's drawn. You can't. I'll let you do a lot, but that's one thing I'm not. The kid has a behavior, and now the parents are like, oh, whoa, whoa, what's this? Because the kids don't know. Are you my? Because yesterday you were my friend, hanging out with me and my friends, and today you want to be my parent, and they don't know which one to choose. And here's what I tell parents: your kids will always find another friend, but they only got one parent.
Yeah.
Be the parent, be the light, be the guiding light for your child. And as they get older, because I mean, you have older kids, I have older kids, like my 29, 25-year-old, I joke with them. We tell adult jokes now. I talk to them like adults. They're adults. For all intents and purposes, their brains are now developed. We can have those conversations, but there are still times I'm like, whoa, guys, still mom here. Still mom, and they get it because they're adults. And my older son, he has kid and one on the way. So it's like he finally gets what I'm talking about. You can't be their friend. They need you right now to be their frontal lobe because their frontal lobe is not developed. They need you to make the executive reasoning. They need you to help them with that impulse control because they definitely don't have it as children and teenagers. So it's walking that fine line of saying, I see you, I hear you, and I love you. And here's the boundaries because I want you to feel safe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also think as parents, we still have to protect.
Yes.
We
100%.
have to protect on so many fronts, not just their physical safety, but also their mental and emotional.
Mhm.
Like you said, that frontal lobe, whoosh, that thing ain't developed halfway at all. And so, as I've told my kids, I'd rather them be upset with me. I tell them, listen, I've got one time to miscalculate something before, as you said, to see, something potentially tragic happen. So I'm okay if you're mad at me because I said you can't go to the party, or I'm going to pick you up early, or I'm that parent who, hey, let me talk to the parents first. Mommy, yeah, I need to talk to the parent. You don't get to just spend the night at, I don't know who's in the
Right.
house. And so I'm okay with being the bad guy to make sure you're safe. Because what you won't say is that my mother did not protect me. I protected. I will kill for, I mean, for us mama bears out there, we will take it to the ends of the earth for our children. And so
100%.
I would rather you be upset with me and to know that I've made a right decision, And so a lot of times we think, well, how do we know, that my child missed the party, nothing happened. Maybe I should send them to another party. Let's use discernment. Let's use, let's talk to other parents and, get a network of parents and say, hey, do you trust this person? How well do you know this family? But I go to bed happy knowing that I've done everything that I was supposed to do at that moment to protect my child.
Right.
And I'm okay with it. Yeah, we don't have to be friends.
Right. So here's a truth question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll answer it first, then I have a question for you. How many times you hated your mom or dad growing up? Because I can tell you there's not enough fingers and toes for me to tell you how many times I hated my parents. And guess what? My father passed a few years ago, God rest his soul, and my mom is still around, and I love them more than anything today. I didn't appreciate what I had with them because I was too busy hating them for being so strict. Because I grew up in a very Indian home and in America. So you talk about boundaries and strict and different cultures, like shell shock. And so I hated it. I hated it because the American culture was so different, and the way they valued boys was, the same with girls, not Indian culture. Like, no, you're going to be in when the street lights come on, and I was like, oh, I'm going to stay the night at Tiffany's house because her mom lets us stay out late and my mom's not going to know, but she knows Tiffany's mom, so I can stay. And I had to do things like that because I was afraid of missing out. And that's where kids are right now. They're living in FOMO. I have so many clients. It's like, my parents don't give me freedom. Well, what does freedom look like to you? Well, they would let me go to the beach with my boyfriend at 13 years old without supervision. Okay, well, let's talk about that for a moment. Okay, let's really talk about that. And the mom's like, Veenu, should I let them go? And I'm like, let me ask you something as a mama. What does your gut say? Well, my gut says, hell no. And I said, then go by your gut. Then go by your gut. Because you get one chance. You get one chance.
Yeah, that's pretty advanced. There were certain things that we were taught that come with age.
Yes.
So 16 back in our day was driver's license and makeup.
Yeah.
We were lucky at the age of 14 to have a little lip gloss.
And we were used to like Vaseline, girl. Vaseline just a little shine on our lips.
Right. And so I think that, again, us parents have to still draw a line. There is still a standard of living. There is still a standard in everyone's family. And I don't care. As we know, our parents would say, I don't care what they're doing at so-and-so's household. I'm not so-and-so's parent. I am your. Yeah. So the line has to still remain. There's still a level of respect. There's still expectations, and we cannot waver. Now can we adjust? I mean, I think there were plenty of adjustments during COVID because our friends miss one another, or so you can case by case look at adjustments. But a beach at 13 with a guy of the opposite sex, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. But again, I think after a while, there's certain things I tell my children, when you understand my rules and a level of respect, there's certain things you're not even going to ask me. There's certain things you should go, nope, this ain't going to fly, and certain things that you will not bring to me because you know who you are, you know what our standards are, and there are some standards that shall not move, period. I think that we have to go back to certain things with certain ages. So, by the age of 8, my mother was teaching me, oh, this is how we sort laundry. So, darks over here, whites over here, the medium colors over there. Well, then by 9, I had the opportunity to then put the clothes in the laundry and sprinkle in the detergent. So there was a responsibility for every year in our lives. So therefore, it's not a free for all, and we knew what was expected of us. So again, like we said, 14, a little bit of lip gloss. 16, oh, that's when we got to really do it up and, had our driver's license, so on and so forth. But we have to make sure we don't expose our children to too much too early, because by the time they get in their adult life, then they'll be bored. I mean, it's almost,
I love
we
that.
were taught, conserve yourself, save yourself, leave something
To
for,
look forward to.
yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
again, their frontal lobe's not developed. It's not developed. So they can't even plan ahead. I remember my daughter saying that, so is it okay if I date? Like she's in 5th grade, she's 11 years old. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And she goes, well, is it okay if I date boys now? And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, no. And she's like, well, I don't understand. I said, what's your definition of dating? And
And what was her definition of
so her
dating?
definition is that it's just her boyfriend. And I said, okay, well,
Okay.
let me tell you what my definition of dating is. That they're 16, they're pulling up in a car to meet you, your father, and myself to look my husband in the eye before he takes his daughter out, and he's going to know where you're going, what you're doing, and when you're going to be back, and you better not be a minute late. That's a date in our book. She goes, oh, no, that's
Yeah.
not what we call dating. And I said, okay. And then she tells me how she has some friends at school that their parents are taking on a date. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. And she said, so is it okay? It is not okay. I am not their parents. And she's like, well, nothing's going to happen. And I said, you're right, because it's not going to happen under my roof. Like, you're absolutely right. Nothing's going to happen. And the point is, it's not about anything happening. And here's what I want my kids to know. It's not that I don't trust you. I don't trust the world.
Yeah, that's what our kids don't get. There, and truth be told, the older I get, and I'm sure you can attest to it, the more sessions that we have with people, the more that we meet people and we understand their childhood
Mm-hmm.
and the things that were acceptable, the places where they weren't protected, the things that certain people were allowed to do, and you go, who encouraged you to do this? Oh, oh, my mom, my aunt. And it's like, oh wow, so no wonder the leadership and the respect for elders is a bit confusing, because you were allowed to do a lot when
Mm-hmm.
you were coming along. And so I think, again, we cannot lose the art of parenting. So
Yes.
not only just instilling positive words and being an example for our children. We've got to get away from, we jokingly say it, do as I say, not as I do. No, really, we have to truly be the example. We do not have our children fooled.
Right.
We do not. In fact, our kids now, with all this technology, thankfully I was on my best behavior. They're just recording in the house on the phone with their friends. I'm talking for like 20 minutes. I'm like, you've been recording this whole time. Like, thank goodness I didn't say anything or do anything or have on decent clothes. I mean, so we're always on.
Mm-hmm.
We are
I
always
love that.
on. And so we have to remember that as parents, we cannot let our roles get murky. This is why, it says train up a child. Train up a child. It is not a free for all. So, some of the things that my parents used to do, my father, who was serious about mental conditioning and being positive, there were things he would not let me watch. He knew when they were coming on. So I know that what The Simpsons, that was like a major show when we were younger. But my dad said, listen, no, you will not entertain, saying I'm an idiot or duh.
Mm-hmm.
No, your vocabulary is far beyond duh. So no, ma'am, you will not engage. And he was not, of course, I mean, he was building his life and career, so he was not home every night. In fact, we had a very unorthodox, upbringing, but he did what he could where he was. So that there were phone conversations of elevated conversation. We would watch movies, and he would say, "Okay, well, tell me who your favorite character was and why," and to make sure that I picked up the positive attributes of a movie, as opposed to saying, "Oh, I loved, the person who was dancing on the pole." He wanted to make sure that I was
That
actually
you were
doing and
watching no
saying,
Magic Mike going on.
yeah, no, yeah. I mean, and he was serious about it, to make sure that
Right.
women that I watched on television were reflective of who he wanted me to be.
Right. I
You
love
know,
that. And again, we're doing the best that we can with what we have and what we know in that time. And, your dad was one of the top speakers of the world, and so he was motivating tons of people out in this world to see their own greatness. And and he did what he could, and look at where you guys are at now. You wouldn't be who you were if you didn't have that type of father,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we learn to grow up. And here's what I can tell you as a parent is that my wish is that my kids do it better than I did, and then my wish for my grandkids is that they do it better than their parents did, to
Yeah.
leave that legacy, to say, this
Yeah.
is my
I think
shortcomings
that,
and these are my gifts, and
yeah.
this is what I want to leave with you, and this is what I see in you. And it's really, I was reading, my son and I were reading Byron Katie's book, Tiger Tiger. Like, she has great books that talk about
Yes,
her questions and turning around. And he said, I wish you would have gave me this book yesterday. And I said, why? And he's like, because I had a lot of self-doubt. He's like, I just was not saying positive things to myself. And I realized that all I have to do is turn it around, because that's what her book's about, and ask, is this really what I'm feeling about that person or about that situation? And what can I think of better to make me feel better, think better thoughts to feel better? And I said, that's why your dad and I say, don't say I'm dumb, I'm stupid. I said, what does that even mean? If you get a problem wrong in math, you're not dumb. You didn't know it. That's not dumb. You can't be dumb from taking a chance on something you don't know. All it is a reflection of, hey, I don't know it, so let me go learn it. It's an opportunity, son. It's an opportunity, not a problem. And he's like, oh, I didn't think of that. So the other day, again, I heard him saying something like, really? Are you really? He's like, no. I said, so what do you need to think of differently right now? What do you need to think so you can feel differently? He's like, I need to think good thoughts. I said, so what would be a good thought? And he just did it opposite, exactly what Byron Katie was saying in that book. And I was like so impressed with him, because, even with us, if we want to create something better in our life, it first starts with a learning, applying, having the success, which encourage you to learn more and apply. But application is the secret sauce to creating something better in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I love, there were several things you said that I absolutely love. Number one, interrupting the negative words that your son was saying. Just, oh, I'm so dumb, or oh, that's stupid of me. I mean, I think we touched on that earlier, and it sounds trivial. However, those words show up in the least expected places, and then we start to act a certain
Right.
way. We start to really believe, what, I can't do this. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? And come to find out, you fed it to yourself.
Right.
And so I love that even at his age now, that you're like, no, son, that's not how we talk to ourselves. My father, if he heard us say can't, or, give ourselves a put down, he would say, no, cancel, cancel, cancel. So I know people thought we were crazy, because we would say something and then we go, cancel that, cancel. Oh, no. But it worked, because there are times now, of course, sometimes negative thoughts naturally seep into our heads because we live in a negative world. And then I have to, as you say, turn it around. So you feel like you're silly or you're dumb. Absolutely not. Well, I'm smart, Mom. I can do this. You're right. I've just got to apply myself differently. I've got to learn. Perhaps I need a tutor. Whatever that looks like, turning it around to make sure that we are being positive. We're only looking at things above,
right,
not beneath. And the things that are beneath, it is only people that we can help pull out of their situation. I mean, so I love how you helped him interrupt those conversations that he was having with himself. That's beautiful.
And it's also like with, our families, it's helping them realize, also stack it. Like, wait, think of some time that you were smart. Tell me a time that you were smart or something that you did good. Tell me another thing. And stack that. So his brain has more evidence, because your brain won't lie to you. And that's really what it comes down to, is your brain won't lie. So if you are telling yourself, or your kids are telling themselves, and let me tell you, we are the worst. Because we have grown up to self-beat instead of self-build. And so they pick up on it when we don't even know they're picking up on it. And then they're doing it right. Whoa, don't do that. But they're like, but Mom, I've seen you do it. Right. And so it's to interrupt that pattern It's to create a different thought and then to find evidence so their brain can say, oh, wait, I am smart. Oh, wait, I remember that. I remember I got it wrong and then I got it right. Oh, I am smart. And tell
Yeah.
me more,
I
right? So
Yeah, I love the evidence. I mean, there are times where you get down on yourself, and then all you need to do is remember that, wait a minute, I've done this before. All is not lost. All I have to do is rethink it. And here's my daughter now. So grateful for her to bring my charger. Thank you, kiddo. But nonetheless, that's exactly what we have to do, to have a memory of how things have gone well for us. And so therefore we don't get it wrong. Even as kids have to remember, wait a minute, I am possible. This is possible. I have possibilities. I've been here before. I can do it. I did it before. I'll do it again.
I love how your dad would say cancel, because my husband and I, the way we have been raising our twins that are 11 now, we've told them from the beginning that can't is the biggest cuss word in our house. Like, you're not allowed to say can't. You're not allowed to say it. Can't is not a word that's allowed in this house. And we have, since they've been able to talk, we have always said, you're not allowed to say can't, and because I believe the minute you tell your brain you can't do it, your brain gives up. It's like, why even try?
Yeah, words are that powerful. It absolutely has quite the impact that, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I have a friend that we used to call, unfortunately, we used to call her Crazy Jamie back in the day. And then, unfortunately, she had to work through a lot of things. And in her adult life, people were calling her crazy. And I'm like, you know what? Let me apologize for the role that I played. Because at first it was just fun and funny. But I realize now, well, I don't play around with words. I don't, the power of life and death is in the tongue. So we don't play with just saying and speaking anything crazy over the lives of our children or our own lives. And so I think we have to be very conscious and very serious about making sure we teach our children positive words, seeing the best in themselves and the best in other people around them.
Absolutely. So this has just been so beautiful, just having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. If you wanted to leave our listeners with any words of wisdom, if they wanted to find your books and find out and really get them, please tell our listeners how to find your books, and if you want to leave them with any great nuggets.
Sure. Well, first of all, you can find my books on Amazon, Serena Brown Travis. I have two that I absolutely love. This one here, Tied to Greatness. Again, it's really just to show children there's more to life than football, basketball, and sports, but you're tied to so much more, tied to opportunities, possibilities, being a doctor, a neurosurgeon, whatever that is. And so introducing careers at a younger age so that you have more to look forward to. And so that's one book I'm proud of. And then another one is nice, short, and sweet. It's called In Case I Forget to Tell You. It's a book I wrote just on the fly because I realized as a busy parent, dropping my children off at basketball and ballet and cheerleading, that I forgot to tell them how beautiful you are, how special you are, how much my children mean to me. And so I wrote this book for all of us busy parents who are all guilty. I mean, as much as we like to think we are the best parent ever, we are all guilty of accidentally getting into that rush zone where we're, doing sight words in the car, eating food in the back seat, making sure that their shoes are tied and dropping them off and then going, oh, wait, in case I forget to tell you, I love you. You're so special to me. And so anyways, I so appreciate this opportunity and the work that you're doing to help parents alike, parents and children alike, for us parents to say, hey, you know what? I messed up a little bit, but all is not lost. We can all turn it. We can all correct. We can all do it better. And it's possible. I mean, it's possible to do. And I think that if we, even as parents, get down on ourselves, what you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. And so if we recognize that there are things we need to do, then we'll make those positive adjustments so that we can positively turn our lives around to make sure that we positively impact the lives of our children so that we can all be better people and leave a great mark on this world.
Yes. Wow, Serena, thank you so much for being here. So much pearls of wisdom that you've given our listeners today. I can't thank you enough. If you
And I appreciate you.
Thank you. If you are finding value in our conversations here on our show, please join our Redefine Parenting group on Facebook. Please download my free ebook, Teach Your Children That They're Enough. Do someone else you know a favor and share my group with them as well, because it, like, Serena and I were saying, it takes a village. Thank you for joining the conversation tonight. And again, together we can give kids a childhood they won't have to heal from. Thank you for joining the conversation again. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all your news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.